Leeway rushed out of his study room, and before Amara could ask if he was okay, he headed for the secret room, opening it and shutting it closed behind him, his movements fast and restless. He rushed to the memorial corner where his family portraits hung and stood there lighting an incense, bowing his head as guilt clouded his expression. He apologized for forgetting them, for forgetting his mission, for allowing himself to be weak, for not remembering their burning flesh and their screams, and for forgetting that the main reason why he was back was to avenge them. He whispered that he was there to remind himself, to harden his heart again. And as his eyes darkened, he headed for the torture chair. He sat there connecting the wires to himself, and without hesitation switched on the current, letting the electric charge tear through him. His body trembled, his teeth gritted against the pain, but he held on, scoffing through the agony as flashes of memory filled his mind. The sound of his family's cries, the smell of burning flesh, his little sister's voice screaming his name. He let the current consume him, promising himself that he would not leave that chair until the monster inside him was reborn, until the fearless and ruthless Leeway was back again, the one who was hungry for revenge and would not hesitate to strike. Meanwhile, Amara stood outside the secret room, her heart racing as she paced up and down, her thoughts clouded with worry. She thought about how he did not look okay when he walked out of his study room, and she wondered what he was doing inside. She tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Her chest tightened as she whispered silently for him to be okay, her hands trembling as she pressed them against the locked door, hoping for a sound, any sign that he was fine. But there was only silence. Across town, Momo sat on her bed, a faint smile tugging her lips, as she thought about the consuming kiss she had shared with Ming, how he had held her by the waist and kissed her, how her heart had raced in that moment. She wondered if he had started to like her too, even though he had walked away after the kiss without saying anything. Still, the thought made her heart flutter. She grabbed her phone, debating whether to send him a text, wondering if it would seem desperate. Finally, she decided to do it and typed the message, asking if he had gotten home safely. The message was delivered, and she closed her eyes, hoping he would respond. But when she opened them again, her face fell, her heart sinking as she saw that he had read the message but did not reply. The silence stung, and she lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if she was foolish for sending the text first. Back at the mansion, Amara lay on the bed trying to read, but her mind kept drifting to Leeway, who still had not come out of the secret room. She tried to push away the uneasy feeling in her chest, but it kept growing stronger. Finally, she stood up, deciding to go check on him again, but before she could reach the door, it opened, and he walked in. She froze on her tracks as her eyes fell on him. He looked pale and weak, his movements slower than usual, his energy heavy and cold. Without thinking, she rushed to him, standing in front of him as worry filled her eyes. She asked him if he was okay and what had happened to him, but he only looked at her and told her that he was fine and that she should not worry. Amara, unconvinced, told him that he didn't look okay at all and asked him again what he was doing in the secret room. Her eyes fell on the bruises on his hands, and she stepped closer, asking once more what he had done to himself. But Leeway kept his gaze steady, his tone calm but distant, as he told her again that she shouldn't worry, and that he was fine. He walked past her and headed for the bathroom, leaving her standing there frozen. She could tell that something was off, that the man standing before her was not the same as the one who had been with her just hours ago. The look she saw on his face was the same one he had when they first met, when he had accused her of stalking him, cold and unreadable. She thought about what Master Shen had said to him and realized his words had struck deep, that he was blaming himself and feeling guilty for neglecting his mission. Leeway stood in the shower as the warm water cascaded over him, soothing the raw marks the electric current had left on his skin. His mind was heavy, racing with thoughts about what he needed to do next. How he had to find the mastermind behind everything, how he needed to bring Master Shen back on board, and how he could not afford to be distracted anymore. He thought about Amara, about how much he loved her, but he told himself that he had to be ruthless again, that he needed to focus if he wanted to protect her. As he stood there, his thoughts deep in turmoil, he suddenly felt a gentle touch on his back. He turned around immediately, only to see Amara standing there, her eyes soft yet determined. Startled, he asked her what she was doing there, and she told him that she was there to make him feel better, and that he didn't want to talk to her back in the room. Her gaze steady on him, she added that if being in the shower together would make him talk, then she will be right in there with him. Leeway kept his eyes on her as he chuckled at how fearless she had become, his expression cold and unreadable. He kept his gaze on her, and without hesitation he pulled her closer, as his sharp eyes locked with hers. Amara's heart raced. She could feel that he had become even more dominant, just like the first time they had met, the way he held her waist, the way he looked at her with that piercing gaze. Leeway leaned, his voice teasing yet firm, as he told her that he was hungry and asked if she will be able to help him. Amara, looking at him, told him that she will make him his favorite soup when they were done showering. Leeway chuckled at how innocent she was and how she didn't understand what he meant. He pulled her even more closer again, his chest pressing against hers, as he leaned in even more and whispered that he didn't want the soup, and that the only thing he wanted to eat was her instead. Amara blushed as she tried to look away, but he tilted her face back to his and held it in place. His gaze still steady as he moved closer to her ear, she could feel his breath on her skin, and he whispered that this time around he wants to handcuff her and blindfold her, and that she should let him dominate her entirely. Amara's heart thundered in her chest at his words, unable to hold back the heat radiating from her. Leeway carried Amara to bed, laying her down gently, his expression unreadable, cold, distant, yet burning with something she couldn't name. The room was quiet, the only sound the faint hum of the night beyond the windows. Amara lay there looking up at him, her heart beating faster, her mind racing, wondering if he was really going to do what he had told her he would do when they were in the shower together. He moved closer, the dim light casting shadows across his face, his piercing gaze locked on hers. He leaned in, his lips hovering dangerously close to hers. Before she could say a word, he reached for the robe belt beside him and grabbed her hands, tying them together in one swift, deliberate motion. She gasped softly, her pulse quickening at the intensity. For a second, she thought about telling him to stop, but the words never came. Something in his eyes, controlled, almost possessive, made her freeze. This side of him made her curious. It scared her, yes, but it also drew her in. She wanted to know it, to feel it, even if it meant losing control. He had always been gentle with her. The way he touched her, the way he held her, was always soft and careful. Though she loved it, a part of her had always wondered what the other side of him was like, the rough, dominant side he had told her about. Now, seeing that look in his eyes, she finally saw a glimpse of it. The heat between them thickened, the air growing heavy with tension. The hunger in his gaze said everything he didn't. He leaned in closer, pressing his body against hers, and she could feel her heartbeat racing wildly against his chest. His voice came low and husky against her ear as he told her he was going to make sure she remembered this night. His hand slid up to her neck as he pulled her closer, his lips brushing hers. She closed her eyes, her breath shallow, the anticipation building with every second that passed between them. But then he stopped. Leeway's gaze lingered on her face, on her closed eyes, on the way her wrists were bound. He could feel the beast inside him stirring, clawing its way to the surface, and in that moment, he knew that if he went ahead, he would lose control. He would destroy the gentleness between them. He didn't want to do that. Not to her. Not to Amara. She was too pure for what he was about to unleash. He took a deep breath and slowly released his grip, untying her hands. She opened her eyes, confusion flickering across her face as she asked if he was okay. He looked at her for a long moment before he finally told her to rest, his tone low, restrained, then turned and walked out, leaving Amara sitting there, her mind clouded with questions, wondering what had just happened, why he had stopped. Leeway poured himself a drink and walked out to the balcony. The night air was cold against his skin. He stood there silent, staring out at the dark city lights, while Master Shen's words echoed in his head. For Master Shen to have spoken to him that way, he must have truly been disappointed. Leeway knew he had let him down. He lifted his phone, staring at the screen for a long moment, torn between pride and regret. Finally, he dialed Master Shen's number, but it didn't go through. His expression hardened as disappointment crept in. Master Shen never switched off his phone, and the fact that he had this time meant something was deeply wrong. He took a slow sip of whiskey, his reflection glinting in the glass door, the silence pressing against him like a weight. Behind him, quiet footsteps echoed across the floor. Amara stood at the edge of the room, watching him. The way his shoulders tensed, the way his gaze seemed lost somewhere far away. It told her everything. She walked closer, stopping just behind him, her voice soft as she asked if he was okay. He turned, his thoughts snapping back. His eyes met hers for a brief moment before he nodded slightly, asking why she wasn't sleeping. Amara stepped closer, her fingers finding his hand. She traced it gently, her touch warm and delicate against his skin, telling him to be honest with her, that they were connected, that he didn't have to keep things from her because she would understand. Leeway let out a faint chuckle, one that didn't quite reach his eyes, pulling her closer into his arms as he told her it was just about his mission. Amara kept her gaze on him, asking if she was affecting his mission, saying she never wanted to make him lose focus. He touched her face, his thumb brushing along her cheek, telling her she didn't do anything, that he just needed to focus more, that he wouldn't be around as much, but it didn't mean she was a distraction. Amara nodded slowly, telling him she could move back to campus to help him focus more. The moment the words left her mouth, his expression shifted. He pulled her closer, his piercing gaze darkening as he told her not to think about it, that if she ever tried to leave, she knows he would always bring her back to his side. Amara smiled softly, saying it was just a thought and that she wouldn't do it. She leaned in, burying her face in his chest as his arms wrapped tightly around her. The warmth of his embrace calmed her, but Liwei's mind was far from still. Deep down, he knew Master Shen was right. Amara had made him weak. He had become softer, gentler, something he had never allowed himself to be. He knew he had to find balance, to keep loving her without letting that gentleness take over, to stay in control while protecting what she had awakened in him. The following morning, Leeway stood by his closet, buttoning up his shirt, his face unreadable. He grabbed his cell phone again and tried Master Shen's number once more, but the call still didn't go through. Disappointment flickered across his expression as he slipped the phone back into his pocket. As he turned, something caught his attention. A small pharmacy package tucked at the corner of Amara's closet. His brows furrowed. He reached for it, opened it, and pulled out a box of pills. Turning it over in his hand, his gaze shifted as realization hit him. They were birth control pills. For a moment, he just stood there, staring at them, his mind sinking into a silence heavier than the morning air. Then the door opened. Amara stepped in, stopping mid-step the moment she saw him. Leeway, seeing her, immediately put the pills away. He walked toward her, deliberate and steady, taking her hands in his as his gaze locked onto hers. His voice was calm but resolute, as he told her that he was going to be very busy with work now that he had just taken office, and with the mission as well. He added that he wouldn't be spending as much time at home and wouldn't have the chance to be with her as often. Amara smiled softly, nodding, her eyes calm and understanding. She assured him that it was okay, that she understood, and that she wouldn't mind. Leeway's hand brushed gently across her face, lingering on her cheek, grounding himself in her presence as he promised that he would try his best to be there for her. Amara returned his gaze with a smile, telling him not to worry about her, that he should focus on his work, and that she didn't want to come between him and his mission. She kept her eyes locked on him as she asked if he had managed to fix things with Master Shen. Leeway didn't respond immediately. The thought of Master Shen possibly severing their connection pierced through him, tightening his chest. Amara noticed the subtle worry in his eyes and placed her hand lightly over his, reassuring him in a soft, steady voice. Master Shen would come around. He was like a father to him, after all. Leeway nodded faintly, a quiet smile brushing his lips. Together they prepared themselves, the unspoken understanding between them clear, the calm before the storm of work and responsibilities. Back at Eastgate Group, the office hummed with quiet tension. Employees whispered behind cubicles, speculation buzzing through the air about the new CEO's inspection. Rumors of firings and drastic changes floated from mouth to mouth. In the women's bathroom, 2 employees fussed over their makeup and hair, leaning toward each other with mischievous glee. One whispered that she had heard Leeway was single and had never dated anyone else since the incident. She added that he had even rejected Yan when she had returned, and both of them laughed softly, recalling how Yan had once declared herself the future Mrs. of East Gate Group. The other woman grinned, suggesting that this was their chance, their opportunity to try their luck with him. He was a man, after all, and surely if they tried to seduce him, he would give in. Perhaps one of them could end up married to him, becoming the next Mrs. of East Gate Group. Their giggles echoed lightly against the tile walls as they finished adjusting their hair. The bathroom door opened slowly and a woman stepped out. Her movements were deliberate, precise, radiating authority. The air shifted immediately. She fixed her gaze on them, her voice sharp and unwavering as she asked if they were there to gossip about the president or to work. Her presence demanded attention, and her words carried the weight of consequence. Any further misbehavior would result in warning letters. They bowed quickly, muttering apologies, shrinking under her steady stare. She walked away, leaving them muttering quietly, questioning her authority, convinced her power came from her father rather than her own merit. Finally, Leeway walked into the office. His presence cut through the room like a blade, sharp, commanding, undeniable. Heads turned, murmurs died down, and the office seemed to pause. His assistant walked alongside him, but it was Leeway who dominated the space, every movement measured, precise. He paused mid-step, letting his gaze sweep over the employees, eyes piercing, assessing, calculating. In a voice calm yet sharp, he announced that in 1 hour he would inspect each department. Any misstep, any negligence, any failure to uphold Eastgate Group standards would be met with immediate firing or demotion. The murmurs that followed carried fear like a living pulse. As he turned to leave, one of the girls from the bathroom rushed to him, stopping at his feet with a bright, expectant smile. She introduced herself as part of the marketing department, expressing gratitude on behalf of her colleagues for his takeover. Leeway's eyes scanned her from head to toe, pausing briefly on the impractical length of her miniskirt. Without hesitation, he told her she was fired for inappropriate workplace attire and walked on. She froze, disbelief etched across her face, the weight of reality crashing down as she struggled to process what had just happened. Meanwhile, in Momo's dorm room, Momo and Amara sat together. Momo was excitedly talking, her words filled with joy. She told Amara how happy she was that she finally got her memory back, admitting that she had been so worried she would never recover. She added that she had missed her terribly and prayed every day that her memories would return. Amara smiled gently and told her that she was happy too. Looking at Momo, she lowered her voice and asked her not to tell anyone about her recovered memory yet. Curious, Momo asked why. Amara explained that she wanted to use this as an opportunity to catch whoever had been trying to harm her, that she knew they would try to take advantage of her supposed memory loss. Momo grinned, impressed, and told her that she was really smart. Amara glanced at her phone and stood up, saying she needed to head to class. As she grabbed her bag, it slipped from her hands, and her belongings scattered across the floor. Momo bent down to help, but froze when her eyes landed on something. A pregnancy test. Her eyes widened as she slowly stood up, turning to Amara with disbelief and concern. Her voice trembled slightly as she asked, "Amara, are you pregnant?"